We have spoken with the Westmoreland FA, who are actually 3 4G pitches behind their schedule, behind their allocation. We've got to consider a lot of things, so what's underneath the pitch, because I'm led to believe that it's contaminated land to a certain point. But we are in the exploring part of the project. There are a couple of slight issues in the sense that if we were to go in with the Westmoreland FA, I feel that they would want control of the stadium, and that's something that we'd have to weigh up as a club, whether or not we want to relinquish that to somebody else or retain it. But if we do go alone in terms of the application for 4G pitch, we'll have to find some private funding from somewhere, which obviously at the moment times are hard with the cost of living crisis. It's something that we as a club are keen on, but we have to do what's right by the club as well. So yeah. So obviously we applied for the West Lancs last year. We didn't get voted in, which there's conspiracy theorists will tell you why. We had to accept our reality. We are looking at the option of having a reserve side next season, but we've also got to look at staffing that, and obviously we're threadbare in terms of volunteers who run the stadium today. So to then do it midweek, if we were in the Lancashire FA one, or if to do it on alternate Saturdays when we're away, you know, you're asking to double your volunteer base, which is tough, because although we keep putting appeals out for people to get involved with the club, people aren't really coming forward at the moment. So I think from a football point of view, and I'll let Jimmy and Andy talk about that, there's certainly merits to having a reserves, but we also have to make sure that we don't exhaust our threadbare volunteers at the moment.
From a management point of view, we would, we've discussed it at length, and obviously we've discussed it yourself as well, Mike. I think it's really important for us to have a pathway for younger players. Now we're sort of trying to get the club back on an even keel and a footing, and people who maybe in the past have looked in at Kendal Town and sort of thought, oh no, not Kendal Town, they don't give local lads a chance or anything like that. It's important for us to now be able to give them a platform to go and play at a better level, and also a little bit of a bridging gap into between maybe a local league and the North West Counties Premier Division, because we're really up for that. We want that. We want to get. I've said it. If some of you are on Facebook, you might have read it, but we're quite passionate about that. And you get hit over the head by certain comments. I don't reply to them all, but for me, if there's a good lad out there who's local and is good enough, then we'll get him in. But they've got to want to come. So we've got to have everything right. But from a footballing perspective as well, we've got lads who are coming back from injury at the moment, and if I want them to get minutes, not at our level, I've got to dual reg them somewhere else and send them out to play West Lancs or whatever it may be. So if we had, say, an under-23s midweek, which for me would be perfect, we can get the best group of youngsters from round here, give them a platform to go and play. We can keep a close eye on it. We can drop a few lads in who are coming back from injury or whatever and say, right, you go and get 45 minutes in there, work closely with whoever it may be, who the club choose to run it. So, yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer. A really good idea, and hopefully we can get the right person in to run it and get in the right league.
I think the other secret as well is the facility. So going back off on the 4G side of it, that if you're starting to add an extra 20 fixtures to the facility, what's it going to do to what we've got here? So going down there, we've spoken, like you said there, the 21s, the 23s, it's going to be crucial where it's maybe not a huge fixture list, but one where it can benefit everybody locally and hopefully for the first team as well.
I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but I do think that our squad we've done well to get a squad together that is as local as it is.
Oh, that's good.
We've
That's
got
what
one.
we'd like to say.
We've got one who travels, but obviously we say not counting today, then we won't talk about him because he didn't play. But obviously most of the lads, we've got a couple of Kendal lads. We've got a lad from Wyndham here. We've got, I've been through this one, and quite a lot from Lancaster and Morecambe. So most of them are all within 20 minutes on the whole. We've got one from Preston, which isn't a million miles away. So yeah, it's fairly local. Yeah,
That's
so
good. That's good. Thank you.
We'd like it to be more local.
Yeah.
I think it's important to put on the record that the management team have approached local players who have not wanted to come. So, when people throw at us, or you've not got any local lads in your team, it's genuinely not for the want of trying. Off the pitch, we're trying to increase the commerciality of the club. So we've had some really good dialogue with Kendal College about going into partnership with those guys in terms of their hospitality students coming here on work experience, in terms of creating a football programme at the college that is running in conjunction with Kendal Town, where they play the ECFA games on the pitch. We're still trying to secure the car park, because we don't have a lease on the car park, where we can then possibly commercialise that. So essentially, what we're trying to do off the pitch is to make the club even more sustainable, because I personally feel for too long there's been possibly a rich person who's put a little bit of money into the club, and then it's run out of money, and then put some more money and run out of money. From a business point of view, the club's got to be self-sustainable. It's got to be able to survive without somebody having to put money in periodically. So my role as chairman at the moment is to increase the commerciality of the club, make it more viable, increase the profitability on a match day, and try and give these guys possibly a little bit more financial muscle to compete next year, because our budget isn't anywhere near top end of the table. There are other clubs who I won't name who are paying far more than we are, but I'd say these guys are getting far more value for money out of their players than anybody else. So yeah, that's off the field.
On the field, I would say I'd be delusional if I was talking about going up this season, but I don't think that was ever the in my head. I don't think that, because I knew, obviously, I thought, well, it's going to take a lot to turn it around, but for me, if we can establish ourselves in this division, show improvement week on week on the whole, and do well in the cup competitions. Unfortunately, the FA Cup probably came too early in our sort of build, but as you're seeing now in the Macron, obviously the Westmoreland Cup's a different one, but it's one we want to win. If we can have a solid end to the season and push up further higher than what we are now, keep the squad together and get the lads ready to come in next season, 2 or 3, to improve us and really have a good push, and then lift some silverware at end of season. I don't see any reason why we can't have a good go at winning the 2 cup competitions we're still in.
And it's a really tough situation in the sense that somebody really needs to run this place full time, and it did the job. But we can't invest in that person until we get X amount of commerciality into the club, because you can't employ somebody and not pay them at the end of the month. And at the moment, I'm running the booking sheet for the clubhouse. We're probably getting about two functions a month at the moment. So we've got our own very own darts night next week, which I cannot wait for. I know Scott O'Callaghan, who messages me every day, can't wait for it. We've got a smoke machine and walk-on music, and yeah, it's going to be, the darts night will be brilliant next Saturday if anyone's at a loose end and wants to come down. Jimmy's 64 favourite has been practicing 6 hours a day on his train, and then we've got some other things coming up. But again, it's really tough because you're relying on volunteers to run these things on a weekly basis, and everyone that you see realistically is volunteering. The ladies who work in the kitchen, they don't get to see the football because they're serving everybody the food, and they do that for the love of the club. The problem that we've got is we're possibly, we need to take a plunge and employ somebody to run the club commercially on a full-time basis to then get more commerciality into this building. But you're quite right that the club could thrive if we had this place booked out, a function a week or 2 functions a week, and we had the 4G pitch. But we're surviving on volunteers at the minute, and there's not enough of us. Not enough.
The one thing that we'll always strive to get above anything else, and it might not always look that way, but the one thing that we'll always strive to get is you will not have a team on that football pitch while we're in charge that you will not think is trying. They will try. They might get found out against certain teams who've got bigger budgets than us, and obviously we're still at and I keep saying it, we are still at an early stage of the development of this squad. People sometimes think, oh yeah, well you've gone down a division, so automatically you should go and win it. It doesn't work like that. 3 or 4 seasons now, I know Kendal went down last year, but let's be honest about it. They should have gone down 2 years before that, and it was coming. So it's not easy to turn it round. But one thing that we have done is we've got lads who care, and we've got lads who will put a shift in, and then the rest of it, of course, We know we don't. You can't just win games of football by working 100% all the time, and sometimes it'll, they might have off days or whatever, but they're all humans. They all got jobs and everything else. But their hearts are in the right place. That reflects through the dressing room. That reflects through the work rate. Today, I think everybody will agree, it wasn't champagne today. We didn't play well. But at the end of the day, we're all...
players are still in the room.
Yeah, I know. Dicko, just took yourself behind that wall. But they'll agree with me. We didn't have the best of performance, but at the end of the day, we scored 3 goals and we got the job done. But the basis of it all is the management team and everything that we've got together will work. We'll work hard to make it right, and the players will follow suit, and they are doing. My favourite saying is Rome wasn't built in a day, but it does take time. And if you want to build a football club to get successful on a pitch, it's like Mike said, with the chairman side of it, or the owner, or whatever you want to call it. You can chuck money at it for 10 minutes, but then once that money's gone, you've got problems. We're building a squad here to try and give the club a bit of longevity. Can we add to it with lads who are local, who are good enough? I hope so. But we're just trying to make it a working class environment where everybody knows, there's no egos. There's not one bad lad in that dressing room. Not one who you think, oh, he sticks out like a sore thumb. They're all sound. Management team, Twinny, Andy, myself, Lee, the committee, Mike and Cammy and all them, spot on. And I think all you need to do is look around everybody in here now. Getting the club busy again on a Saturday and winning games of football, and knowing that if you come and watch Kendal and you pay for your season ticket or you pay £6, sometimes I did it when I was growing up when Preston were in 3rd division and they were absolutely awful. But you can resonate with a player if you know they've got the limitations, but you know they're working hard. And if you know that they'll give their all for cause, then sometimes that buys them a little bit, and they'll all do that. They'll make mistakes out there. They're only semi-pro footballers, aren't they? You get professionals making mistakes, but we'll certainly, whatever we don't do, it won't be through a lack of trying.
You'll laugh, but we met a month ago to discuss pre-season. So plans are already in place for what we feel pre-season needs to look like on and off the pitch, to then give the team the best opportunity to hit the ground running in terms of the league and the FA Cup and the FA Vars, because I'm asking you, what do you guys want from your club? You're seeing a lot of ambition from us. Ambition in terms of the sacrifice that being involved at Kendal comes at your family. My daughter's running Lancashire Schools Athletics competition this morning, which I haven't attended, to come and be here to commit to this. And that's what all your volunteers are doing at the moment. So if people are saying, we want FA Cup runs, we want this, listen, we're with you. I'm going to throw it to you now. We need your help. We are threadbare. There are certain positions at this club that needs filling quickly. We currently don't have a club treasurer. David, who's done a wonderful job, and I can't praise David enough. He can't commit to the level that he feels that the role needs. So between myself and Craig at the moment, we're doing that on top of. We're very short on match days. I think Ian Crosscall, who does a wonderful job running the gate, I think he'd love a few more people to help him in terms of stewarding. The ladies in the kitchen who do a wonderful job, people behind the bar, people who come down and help look after the stadium in the week. We need help, guys. If you're as passionate about Kendal Town as I think you are, please step forward and ask how you can help. It doesn't have to be 10 hours a week, it can be 1 hour a week. But if we want this club to go on a journey and go on and win things and climb up league tables and go on FA Cup runs, it needs more support than it's getting right now. And I don't mean people coming through the turnstiles, I mean day to day. One of the big things, before I got back involved in the club, I did come up and watch 2 games, kind of stood in the scratching shed with my hood up, and I was alarmed at the lack of women and children that were coming. And I wanted to change the demographic of the club in the sense that I want it to be a family community where you'd safely bring your wife and your children. My daughter's probably doing jobs in kitchen at the minute. But when you looked around today, the amount of younger families that are here, and I personally challenge any poor language, any poor behaviour in the stadium, and I feel as if if we all do that and we all look after the environment, we'll only encourage more people to come through. And one of the things I've proposed to Kendal College, I think it's a big jump from an under 16 pricing point of £1 to an adult £6, is any Kendal College student with the lanyard can get in for £2 as under 18s, to try and encourage more young people into the stadium. Because ultimately, and I don't want to sound morbid, we won't be here forever. You know, the club will have to be handed over, and unless we're engaging the younger people in this community, you know, we've got Wix's lad Jaden who comes to the games, and we call him Stato. I genuinely can see in 10 years' time him being the club's historian or the club's analyst or something of that effect. And for me, that's a responsibility we all have, is to bring the young kids through to then empower them to be able to run the club in years to come. Because I'm only 25, believe it or not. It's age for me. So yeah, we won't last forever, but we are, you know, we're proud of the fact that we are getting a lot of women and children to the games.
The support that we've had from the fans, week in, week out, all season since we've got here as a management group and a group of players, has been fantastic. You know, everybody's also always positive on Facebook. We're trying to do the right thing. We'll try and engage you. If anybody ever catches me at ground, we're all normal lads, we're approachable. But it works two ways, doesn't it? We'll do our bit, you lot are doing your bit, and whether it's old, young, middle-aged, whatever you want to be, you know, we're all trying to pull it right direction. And to be honest, I just wanted to thank you all, because I think Andy will agree with me, from a management and a player's perspective, the support that we've had has been tremendous. So thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.